I'm very powerful. I can manifest stuff. And two things. I want to ask, how can I fine-tune it? Because the other day, I manifested a IRS audit. And I want to sift through contrast, and I feel this power, I can do stuff, but I want to materialize, manifest more than physical stuff. I want to do events and situations. And I knew I did all that. I keep doing it.
Here's the thing. It's not easy to hear, our friend just now and this too, it's not easy to hear or to accept when we say things are always working out for you. Because sometimes things happen that you just as soon hadn't worked out for you in that way. But if you come to know and really believe that things are working out for you, then you let the things that are working out for you be realized by you at more incremental and therefore more satisfying stages. Jerry and Esther were always sort of proud of the fact that they didn't get audited because they keep really clean and good books, and they are very conservative in what they do, and they don't take a lot of chances or really any. And so it was sort of the mantra that Esther was really enjoying, that I just don't get audited. And then like you, she did. She got audited. And it wasn't something that she thought that she had been thinking about, but clearly everything that comes to you comes because there's a vibrational connection of some kind. But there was something about the inevitability of it. In other words, it's something that is happening, so you might as well just relax and go with the flow of it because you're not going to talk anybody out of it. This is something that's going to happen. And there is something kind of nice about being in a situation where you just give in to it. And here's what happened. Esther wrote the computer programs initially for her business. And she has a really unique way of keeping track of things that she understands completely. So there's nothing that happens that she doesn't understand. And she leaves a trail that anyone could follow because she's very precise about the trail that she leads. Stay with us, it's all right. So she always presented this very satisfying, I know what I'm doing, and this is exactly right, set of information to her CPA, who then did whatever he did, and she didn't understand any of that. So he took what she did, translated it into what he sent to the government, and Esther didn't realize it until she was audited, that she was always uneasy about that every single year. In fact, she would think, well, I know what I'm doing. I sure hope he knows what he's doing. I hope he's depicting it in the way that I mean for it to be depicted. So, as the audit unfolded, all she got was compliments. Well, that's clear. Well, this is really a good way of doing that. Well, that's nice. So she not only learned that her process was a good one, but that his was too. And at the end of it, everyone was really good friends. It was not just something that took time, it did, but it was something that was really fun to do. There was no trepidation within it. Now, what we want to say to you is, you can tune yourself to the clarity of your intentions in such a way that no matter how clean your books are, if your intention is clean, it will go well for you. If you go in with confidence, not trepidation, and sincerity, not rebelliousness, how does your inner being feel about your auditor? Your inner being thinks it's a nice person just doing the job. And when you feel that way, then you're in sync with your inner being. It's our promise to you that when you sync up with your inner being. So a good question for you to ask in these preparation stages is, inner being, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? And what you're going to discover is it's going to be a clarifying process that's going to give you information. And at the end of it all, you're going to be glad it happened, not sorry.
It was like that. It happened that way.
Well, why didn't you stop us before we wasted all this time?
Because I want to fine-tune. I want to fine-tune.
Yeah.
I know I did that, and I've done a lot of other wonderful things, manifested people in my life, but I want to do more events. I talk to my inner being, but sometimes I'm not sure my inner being and I are communicating. I go, hey man, where are you?
Make sure that you're calibrated before you start talking. Just make sure that you're calibrated. Make sure that you're calibrated when you ask the question, and then put some time space distance between the question and the receiving the answer. And then when you are in a similar calibration, meaning high flying, that feeling of exhilaration or that feeling of satisfaction or that feeling of high on life kind of feeling, that's when those answers flow into your experience. Not when you're studying the problem and looking for the solution. In other words, distance between the question and the answer. Time distance. But no distance in terms of the emotional or vibrational calibration. So get happy when you ask, get happy before you ask, and then in a happy moment, hear the answer. We find you very finely tuned. We don't know why you're questioning that. But it may be that you're trying to take score too soon, or you're not putting enough distance between your question and your receiving of your answers. Because remember, the vibration of the question is a different frequency. When you calibrate to a question, you're calibrating to a lower vibration. And when you calibrate to an answer, you're calibrating to a higher vibration. So we haven't talked about this before. Let's consider this, but this is good. So something happens, let's call it a problem. And you want to know about it. So you're talking with some counselor about it. Maybe your inner being counselor, maybe somebody else, but you're focused on the problem. And as you focus on the problem, you're calibrating to that problem, which means you're calibrating right out of range of the answer. But you sort of got to do that to explain it. But you know what happened? We have not said this before. We are so happy that you've asked this in this way. Just give us a minute. Everybody's having a good time here. In all of that time that you're calibrating to the problem, you're launching rockets of desire that are calibrating to the solution. That's why they're rockets. They're not bowling balls. They're rockets. So your calibration to the problem caused you to launch rockets that are calibrated to the solution. And that's where your inner being picks up on them. That's where your inner being remains. And you've got to then put some distance between your calibrating to the problem and your being in the receptive mode of calibrating to the solution. Never heard that clearer, have you?
I'm impatient, so I guess I have to do that.
Impatience is not understanding the process. Esther's new house, it's on a hill, has an elevator in it. A really, really, really slow elevator. So slow, such a slow elevator, that she's fallen in love with the stairs. But when she's got bulky things or heavy things or suitcases or whatever, so she's in the elevator and she pretends that she's on the 21st floor. 20, 19, she plays the game 18, 17, 16. And then when the door opens, she's not impatient because in her mind, she came down 20 floors. Not just one. You got to find ways to make yourself happy. Because that elevator is always going to be slow. She can get in this elevator and get up to her floor in less time than she can get in her elevator and get up to her floor. And there's 20 floors difference. But statements like, it is what it is, and I have time to wait for the law of attraction to put all of the pieces together, and I'm certainly capable of waiting for the cooperative components to gather. And this is the most important thing. I am willing to take my time in calibrating myself to the precision of this answer. And if it takes a little while, so be it. This should be fun. You really don't want things to manifest instantly. You think you do, but you don't. If everything you thought was instantly manifesting, first of all, you'd have a big mess to clean up every day because you're not that good at projecting your thoughts yet. But just the number of things that you would be trying to give away. I have 75 cars. Do you want one? I just liked it, and then it was in my driveway. Didn't even take time to consider that I don't have that many places to go. We're having fun with you, but we really want you to ask yourself, when you feel impatient, you know why you feel impatient? Because your inner being is patient. If your inner being weren't patient, meaning you have eternity, your inner being is patient because your inner being knows that it's not about time, it's about calibration. And your inner being is willing to give you as much time as it takes to calibrate. And once you start calibrating, you'll find yourself needing to be a whole lot less patient because a whole lot more things will be happening in a whole lot more productive and speedy way, you see. Patience is only something that somebody needs to learn who hasn't learned to calibrate energy. It's not going to help Esther's elevator that much, however. That elevator's not ever going to go very fast. You live in a physical world, and you're not yet just flying around in your physical bodies. You have to go to the airport, stand in line, and go through the scanner and open your suitcase and show them all the stuff you've got in there and pretend like you like them anyway. Having fun with you, but do you feel impatient? Because we're sort of poking at that. Are we making you feel impatient as we just sort of frivolously play around with this since there's nothing serious going on? There's nothing serious going on, so there's no reason for impatience. There's only reason for high speculation of really fun things to show themselves to you. Are you impatient through the eyes of others, other humans who are looking at you? Or are you impatient because you think your inner being is there and you're not there yet?
The latter.
Oh. But you see, if your inner being were impatient, when you're impatient, you'd be in sync.
How do I get in sync more? How do I do it more often? What things can I do? So I talk to myself a lot, and I say, come on, man, you relax. And I don't relax. And so I say...
Well, you let it get too far. In other words, you don't want it to get to the place where you need to relax before you decide to relax, because that's the last time to relax. You've got to get out ahead of it. And so what would be an emotion that is ahead of needing to relax? Give us an example of something that happens frequently where you feel impatient.
I'm a stand-up comedian, and I try to book my shows, and
we've given you quite a bit of material.
A lot of it. From the moment we started. And so I always want to write new material that's strong, and so I can use. So sometimes when that doesn't happen, I force it. I make it happen. And so that...
And you can really feel the difference, can't you?
Yes.
Between something that you're making happen and something that you were just inspired to or called to. So when it's not flowing, just take a break and do something else. And this is what we meant when we said, put some distance between the question and the answer. So let's say that you get up and in your first segment of the day, you are doing a general segment for your day, and you are calibrating to the emotions that you know your inner being feels. You're not making stuff up. You don't say something that you don't mean about yourself, but you do find the things that you do mean that you know are in sync with your inner being. That's what calibrating is. I know my inner being is love, so I'll calibrate to love if I can. I know my inner being is appreciative, so I will calibrate to appreciation if I can. You're just doing this general calibration, and you say something such as, I am eager about the funny things that will be shown to me today. I feel ready for some really funny stuff to just show up. I am secure in knowing that it can. I like that feeling of anticipation, of surprise and delight when it does. Because you've already asked for it. And now you're calibrating to moving through a day where it can show itself to you. We said two things. Calibrate before you ask the question, and then calibrate again to receive the answer.